Episode 7, January 11th, 2011.
Howard and Kevin, open your mail.
Hello and welcome to the Howard and Kevin Open Your Mail podcast. It's another episode. Are you ready for it? We know we are. Wait, are we ready for it?
I don't know. Have you started? Are we even pressed go?
No.
Oh my god, we've started.
The red light is on, so I think it's recording.
Oh my god.
We're on.
Then, hello.
Thank you. Hello to you, Howard.
I'm just waking up from my long winter's nap.
So, Howard,
Senator?
good to see you. What's going on?
Oh, I don't know. Not much. Well, what am I saying? Not much. What's going on is that we are here with a brand new episode of the Howard and Kevin Open Your Mail podcast. That's big news, baby.
It's huge news. I think it's going to be the front page of the Toronto Star tomorrow morning. Howard and Kevin back with another podcast.
That's right. Tune in. Hi, folks. Welcome and thank you for dropping in to join us here in our little friendly place.
Friendly place. You've come to our friendly place.
That's right.
Which can sound really sick if you think about it too much, but don't think about that too much.
So we're happy to have you. Don't forget to check us out at HowardandKevin.com.
That's our website.
You can find us on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Yep.
People can send us an email at mail@howardandkevin.com. And that's the whole sort of premise here. In case you're new.
Who started at episode 7? I mean, come on.
What are you, new? So, send us a letter and we answer as many of them as we can get to right here on the podcast. And we have a lot of fun doing that. And hopefully you'll have fun hearing your letter. You'll be all excited.
We can only hope. So you want to get to it?
Well, I guess that's the idea.
All right.
So,
well, it's a new year, everyone.
That's true. Happy New Year, everyone. It's our first episode of 2011.
2011. Is that right? 2011? Yeah, that's right.
Crazy, eh?
That is nuts. I'll tell you one thing. When I was a kid, I enjoyed the movies, of course, and enjoyed Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a movie that is supposed to be based in 2001. They got spaceships, they got computers that think for themselves, they got all this stuff. That never happened, okay?
No.
So, but I gave him a buy, because there was a sequel to that film called 2010, the year we make contact, okay?
2010.
2010, excuse me.
I like to pronounce it 2010.
Well, that's fine. That's, that's your choice. That was also written by Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote the original one. In that movie, spaceships, computers thinking for themselves. Did our 2010 have that? No. That never happened. And that kind of pisses me off. That makes me think that Arthur C. Clarke did not know what the hell he was talking about.
Yes. His powers of prediction were off.
Terrible.
Should have been called 3001, maybe.
Exactly. Which was also one of his books, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Oh, we should read that immediately.
So that one will probably be more accurate, I think.
Well, we'll see.
Yes.
We should read it aloud here on the podcast.
We should. That'd be great. That would be our 16-hour podcast.
I remember as a kid being excited about the idea of the year 2000. It seemed like a really big deal, right? Mm-hmm. And somehow the idea that we're now in 2011 sort of blows my mind a little bit.
It just feels like things have slowed down. Things have gotten cool in other ways. We have iPods, we have iPads, we have various eye-related technology. But we don't have flying cars, we don't have spaceships, we don't have,
jetpacks.
Jetpacks, exactly. Jetpack.
Right.
Where's my jetpack? We
don't have food that's all just like in pill form.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a turkey dinner. Yeah.
Well, in 2001, at one point, I think Keir Dalia, or whatever his name is eating dinner, and it's like 4 different colors of putty. And he's just, you remember that? It was green, orange, brown, and I thought, food eventually is just going to be like that. That'll be great.
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green, yeah. There's a secret about that we won't get into right now, but
it's something that you should know if you actually see that movie.
No, we don't want to do spoilers here.
Charlton Heston.
Anyway,
so Happy New Year.
Yeah,
and coincidentally, our first letter is a little bit apropos of this subject.
Oh, interesting. Good.
So here it is. Dear Howard and Kevin, I just bought a new calendar, and when I put it up, I noticed that the weeks start on Monday instead of Sunday. What up with that? Says Leanne from Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, Nashville, Tennessee. That's lovely.
Now, Leanne has a heck of a point here. I have also noticed this thing, and it's very confusing.
I haven't seen a lot of calendars like that. You've seen calendars
Oh,
like
yeah.
that?
I think if you go to the store and you look at the choice of calendars or the little date book calendar thingies, you find that a bunch of them, maybe not half, but let's say, a certain percentage of them start on a Monday instead of a Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So now, when you actually think about this,
yeah,
that's actually good in the sense that, at least in my mind, weeks do start on the Monday. I think of the weekend, because it's called this, as the weekend.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
Sunday, in my mind, is the last day of the week. Even in the sort of, Christian church world, Sunday is the day of rest, right?
That's right.
It's the last day of the, building the earth or whatever the heck it says in Genesis.
Yeah.
But so to me, the idea that the calendar start on a Sunday is actually wrong. So it actually does make sense that the week would start on a Monday. And every time you look at a calendar, you got Saturday here and Sunday way over there.
That's true.
But so often your plans are Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
It's a weekend. So it actually does make sense.
It does.
That Saturday and Sunday would be together at the end of the calendar. Except that we've all grown up used to this certain thing. And if you just glance at the calendar and you see 17 over there on the left, you're going to think that's the Sunday
and not the Monday.
And if it's the Monday, I can't get used to that.
Yeah, it's something we'd have to forcibly work into the culture somehow. You just have to do it. And people would have to just remember to
those kinds of things just don't
They
work.
don't
because
happen,
you can never get a consistent consensus from the whole. It's like if
I
we
know.
decided tomorrow, you know what? We're going to change our system of telling time.
Yes.
24 hours in a day, that's a weird arbitrary number. We're going to make it a round number. We're going to make metric time. We're going to have 10 units of the day.
Oh, I'd love that.
Now, you could figure out a whole mathematical thing, but no one would do that.
No. Because it's just too much. Or changing the keyboard on, if they decided to go against the QWERTY keyboard and get a new one.
Right, which lots of people have invented and
tried. But they would never catch on.
But people are just used to that. They're not, you can't switch everybody over all at once. And you know what, Kevin? That's why we don't have rocket cars. or like when I was a kid, I remember
the calendar?
future books would always say that you'd be able to get in your car and just sit there and punch in, 462 Elm Street, and it would just take you there.
Right.
But in order to do that, we'd have to shut down our entire system of roads and highways and cars and rebuild the whole thing with a whole system.
That's right.
That
will never happen.
Changeover is never going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're never going to get that. And it's the same with the calendars.
Yeah.
We can't change it over. But so I agree that Leanne is my point to Leanne is I think you got to throw it away and get a new calendar. Because I feel like as much as I get why that makes sense, I think you're never going to get used to it. You're going to spend the whole year one day off. Every day you're going to look up there and say, oh, the 18th is Wednesday. It's really going to be Tuesday or whatever.
That's right.
I don't know. The other way.
That would be very confusing. I know what you mean. I do wish the calendar was like that. But yeah, it would just be too confusing. Over time, you'd eventually you'd really screw something up.
Yeah,
you'd have surgery on a Tuesday and you'd go on the Wednesday instead. I missed my surgery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now my arm fell off.
What surgery would that be?
The surgery to attach your shoulder to your arm. I don't know.
I'm wondering why he'd waited and have that scheduled. I think that's something you would go to Emerge for. But anyway,
the whole idea that the calendar that we're used to seeing begins on the Sunday, I wonder how that even started. I don't know. It doesn't even make sense. It was probably some monk,
right?
Working, in some monastery somewhere,
for minimum wage.
Yeah, when they made the Gregorian calendar, who thought, well, Sunday is God's day, so
that's got to be number one.
It has to begin, or we'll be insulting God, or something.
I think so. Yeah, I don't even think it was the monk. It was the monk's boss,
the Pope.
Don't blame the monk in this situation. I think it was either the Pope or maybe the guy. It could have been Bob Hope. It could have been, I think it's not even the Pope. It's the Pope's like Weasley little underling who made silly rules, and the Pope was kind of like, whatever, I'm busy. I got other stuff to do. You work on this Gregorian calendar. He's like, oh, the calendar again? Fine.
Thanks, Gregory.
Thanks a lot, dude. And he was kind of like, hey, what if I started on Sunday? That's my birthday. And then it went on, from there.
Probably.
Yeah. If I know that guy.
Well, that guy's ruined it for all of us.
He has.
It's confusing.
It is. Anyway, I hope we answered your letter there.
Leanne, get yourself a new calendar. Trust me.
Yeah, it's not going to work out.
You're going to beat yourself up all year long.
By January 16th, you will have missed your surgery, and you will have
and your arm will have fallen off.
And your arm will have fallen off, and
then how are you going to put up the calendar?
Exactly. The new one. Well, she has her man to do that. If I know Leanne, she's got the husband around the house. He hammers up the calendar.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, that's what I see at her in her Nashville house.
Well, all right. Thanks for your letter, Leanne. Good luck with your new year.
Yay. So next up, we have a letter from Jarrod from Purcell, Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, Jarrod.
He is a podcaster. He also runs his own podcast, which we've listened to.
Yeah,
and is actually pretty fabulous.
We kind of connected with Jarrod through Twitter originally.
Oh yes,
and followed each other, and he has very kindly promoted our podcast a few times, both by mentioning it on his show and also by putting it in his show notes and twittering out that he likes our show and stuff, which is wonderful. And we've twittered out a couple of times that we think his show is good. And so we'll tell you right now, folks, another podcast to check out. It's called To Amuse Me, and he calls it Oklahoma's best podcast, I think.
Yeah, I think number one podcast in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Which I don't doubt is true.
No, number one podcast in Oklahoma and Kansas.
Oh, right.
It's like, screw you, Wichita.
Where can you find that podcast, Howard?
Why, I believe, well, he tells us in his note here,
yes.
toamuseme.podbean.com.
Oh, well, there you go.
To amuse me. So
no, we've listened to it, and it's really funny. So yeah, you should. It's along the same lines as us. It's just a lot of just random ramblings from two funny guys,
shitting and chatting.
It never is a bad thing. So
and Jarrod was kind enough to write us a letter here, dear Howard and Kevin.
Other than eating Canadian bacon covered in maple syrup and watching Degrassi all day, what other Canadian stereotypes are you guilty of? I hope this letter makes it to you. The Pony Express has been very slow these days. I have to saddle up my horse and get back to the oil field before the tornado hits. Keep up the good work. Jarrod. That's good, because those are some pretty good stereotypes of both us.
So it's interesting that Jarrod has picked up on the fact that we're Canadian.
Well, I mean, we have mentioned it 8 or 9 times. I think after the 5th time.
Should we start calling ourselves Canada's greatest podcast?
I think. I mean, who's gonna? Somebody could probably figure out which the number one podcast is in Canada.
Number one in which scale?
Exactly. So if we just
say
number
one in Howard's opinion, is this
exactly. Yeah. You just leave out that little middle part where it's fine.
So he wants to know, other than eating Canadian bacon, which, to begin with, before I even finish that sentence, I always find it comical that people from the U.S. call it Canadian bacon.
Right.
Because we don't call it that.
No, we call it back bacon.
Back bacon.
Yeah.
To us, there's regular bacon, which we just call bacon.
That's correct. Yes.
And then there's back bacon.
Right.
But people in the States call back bacon Canadian bacon.
That's right.
So it has this association with Canada, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that got associated with us anyway. Did we come up with it? Did we invent that? Or
I do not know the answer to that question. So anyway, other than eating Canadian bacon covered in maple syrup, you know what? I don't know if that's a Canadian stereotype, but that sounds good.
Oh, it's delicious. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, we like to act that we use the maple syrup for the pancakes or the French toast. Yeah. But if it gets on the bacon, that's not a bad thing either. No, that is not a bad thing.
I liberally pour.
You are. It's just.
I'm not pretending anymore.
I've seen your plate. It's kind of like you've got a plate and it's got the stuff on it, but it's just kind of like there's a complete pool of everything is just sitting in a pool of syrup, which is delicious. I'm not going to deny.
Have you ever spent an afternoon sitting in a pool of syrup?
It's
Let me tell you, that is a summer afternoon you won't forget.
It's a very Canadian thing to do.
That's right. And watching Degrassi all day.
Yeah, Degrassi's one of our biggest exports, I think, because because Americans, I find all the time, are talking about Degrassi.
Yeah.
That's something
Now,
that
Jarrod,
really caught on.
I will tell you that although I don't know a great deal about the show Degrassi, you'll find it interesting to note that I know where Degrassi Street is, the actual real Degrassi Street. And as a matter of fact, I was just on it yesterday.
Were you?
I parked my car there. Hey, Canadian stereotype. I parked my car on Degrassi Street. This is absolutely a true story.
Yes.
Because I went and played hockey last night. And shinny hockey,
yes.
That's right. And
which is outdoor hockey, if anyone doesn't know what that is.
Outdoor hockey with no big equipment, everything, just skates and sticks.
Right.
So I played hockey last night, and I parked on Degrassi Street.
Wow. I'm going to one-up you, because I actually went to Degrassi. Now, it's a little different, because what basically happened was the building that they filmed Degrassi High in became, after they shot that, my college. So for 2 years, I went to that building as my college. So I had a locker there. I was going to classes. I basically went to Degrassi.
Wow.
Neat, eh? Which Degrassi is not a real school. It was just as,
it's a make-believe school.
Make-believe, but I went to that
it is a real
school.
street in the city.
Yes, it is. And a real building.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I hope you didn't have any horrible, dramatic teenage...
No, I didn't get anyone pregnant. I didn't crash my car and kill my best friend.
Get into drugs or anything.
Yeah, no.
That's good.
Although I knew Spike. She was great.
What other Canadian stereotypes are we guilty of, Kevin?
Well, there's so many, Howard. I took the time to think of a few before we started recording the podcast.
Yes, I did too, actually.
And the thing is I came up with about 1,000. So there's far too many to mention on this thing. But
I didn't have, sorry to interrupt, Kevin, I didn't have time to look them up last night because I was having a dinner party with Michael J. Fox and Pamela Anderson.
Oh, yes.
And Jim Carrey and Shania Twain.
I think you're going to find, Howard, that those all are Canadians.
And do you know what? Neil Young, he didn't show.
He didn't show?
He was supposed to come.
Oh, it's just like him.
He didn't show.
Oh, it's just like him.
And Mike Myers came but sat in the corner the whole time.
He didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything.
It's like he wasn't as funny as I thought he was.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Oh, that's a shame.
But yeah, so sorry. That's what I was
that's
doing.
fine.
That's what I was doing last night while you
No, that's good. I mean, the usual stuff is Mounties, igloos, hockey. I mean, some of these are not exactly accurate. I mean, there are igloos somewhere in this country, but they're nowhere near where I am.
Way up there.
Way up there.
And that's even I'm sure even for the Inuit people, many of them no longer live in igloos.
I'm thinking not. Yeah, no. They're in towns.
Yes.
And
so you did a lot of looking up. I unfortunately last night was oot and a boot, so I couldn't look things up.
I don't even understand what you just said, Howard. What does that mean? Because I don't generally think I do sound like say a boot or anything like that, but I probably do and just never notice it.
Well, I don't think you say a boot, but I think Canadians in certain areas have a little bit of a closed O, like we say like south instead of south. But it's a little. But I can understand. It's a silly thing though when people say "oot in a boot." That's just ridiculous.
I'll tell you one thing though. Tim Hortons has got to be our largest export at this point.
Well, are they all over the U.S.?
Well, I think they are in the U.S. now, but I think I don't mean export as much as just that thing we're really well known for now. Because I think a lot of people associate Tim Hortons with Canada.
And Tim Hortons is of course, famous chain of coffee donut.
It's a donut shop. Yeah.
Although they don't sell as many donuts as they used to.
No, it's a lot of sandwiches and soup and chili.
They've tried to scale up.
Oh, definitely.
But you know what is a shame is that even a lot of Canadians no longer remember that Tim Hortons is named after Tim Horton, who was one of the great hockey players, played for the Toronto Maple Leafs for many years and the Buffalo Sabres, and was an outstanding Hall of Fame type player. Yep. And had a tremendous career and of course started this chain of donut shops. Right. And now, he's no longer with us, but the chain, which is of course a big company now,
the chain lives on.
Has his name on it. Yes. And half the people don't even know that that's what it's named after.
No, that's true.
What else are we known for?
Beavers.
Sorry, I can't hear you because I'm listening to my iPod with K.D. Lang, Avril Lavigne, and Celine Dion music. And I like to overlay them on top of one another.
You didn't tell Shania Twain that last night, did you?
No.
Because you said, I listen to Shania.
No, I like Katie Lang, Celine Dion, and Avril Lavigne.
Oh, that's good.
Shania, I like to have dinner with, but I don't listen to her music.
I was too busy. I wasn't too busy to look stuff up last night because I obviously did because I have a big list. But later on that night, I watched some of our famous Canadian movies, like Avatar.
No, I don't. Well,
My Cousin Vinny, maybe.
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay. Do we?
You know what's funny about Avatar? Here? Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blow your bit there. But our Canadian films have not been great exports.
No, not really. I mean, I do know a few, but I don't generally.
Hey, right now, Barney's version is
that's
opening
true.
in cinemas across across the USA.
It's only the problem with the thing is that they don't get a lot of distribution up here, which is our own country. You know, you'd think they'd get more distribution. So we see the ones from the big directors, like your Cronenbergs, your Adam McGoyans, these guys, right? But because they got big funding and they got they basically they get the top talent of this country in terms of everybody who works on the production and the actors and everything. And so we see those because they get distributed and they're very good. These are great directors. But it's not like we just don't have that robust kind of industry where it's, there's like every week there's a new Canadian movie.
And this leads, of course, we have all this inundation of U.S. media just blacks out anything
it does,
that's local or Canadian.
Which is true in most places in the world.
Yes.
Maybe excluding India with their whole Bollywood thing. They're like massive. But and to a certain extent the British film industry still has things. But I think the thing is that the British film industry gets a lot more support, especially from their government, that we don't get here. I think. And that is a big problem. I hate to get serious here on the podcast for a moment, but I think we do need to get a little more money from our government for our film industry. I'd like to put that out there.
And we need, and I think a lot of it is probably about promotion. I think Canadian films I've seen many of them over the years.
Yep.
Many of them are quite good, but people don't know about them.
That's right.
Or they just don't go. They don't buy tickets to go see them, and therefore there's
certainly not enough
money to make the next one. And so anyway, that's a whole thing. But there's you mentioned Avatar in a joking way, as if to say obviously that's not a Canadian movie, but James Cameron
is a Canadian. That's
is
true.
Born in Canada,
Kapuskasing, I believe.
In a small, very tiny little way.
That's true. I mean, that's about our culture, right? Is that we our people tend to leave the country and get famous down south, and then they come back, to a certain extent.
By the way, Kevin, did I tell you I'm moving to the States?
Are you? No, I said our Canadian talent.
I would move to the States, but I can't because I have a curling tournament. And
I'm going to tell you,
and it's in French. I don't even know what that means.
Curling is fun. I mean, we do live up to the stereotypes sometimes. As I have been curling, I did play a lot of hockey when I was a kid.
And you know what? When you hurt yourself, you got free healthcare.
Hey, hey, how you doing? Which was excellent, and I hurt myself a lot because I was terrible. Anyway, so yeah,
and you got free healthcare in Celsius. Does that mean anything? I don't know.
I don't think that's true.
No,
they took my temperature in Celsius.
Yeah, see, there you go.
No, they didn't. Because it's like 98.6. That's Fahrenheit.
Yeah, but 37 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, but nobody's ever told me that. It was always in Fahrenheit.
Oh, man, you're old.
Look who's talking.
What else? Zed. I don't want to hear Z. I don't want to hear anybody say Z. Letter's called Zed. I'm hoping that catches on in the States.
It might.
I still think there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance. Them and their Z's.
That's right.
I'm going to go take some Z's.
WXYZ. Anyway, well, so clearly we have no Canadian stereotypes. We don't know anything about them.
I don't know what he was talking about.
But I'll tell you, our friend in Oklahoma.
Now, there's some stereotypes.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain.
Oh, that's right.
And the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain.
Did you just come up with that?
I did. It's called poetry in action.
Wow, it makes me feel like I'm there.
In Oklahoma, I know. The wind and the plain. And you know what else? Sharecroppers. You think our friend Jarrod here is a sharecropper?
It's possible.
Working in the Dust Bowl. Like, come on, Ma. I better better go feed the cows. Pa.
Wow. That's
and then my guess is that he gets in his pickup truck
yeah.
with his cowboy hat on
Yeah.
and goes off to a college football game.
What college would he possibly go to, Howard?
I'm guessing he's as a matter of fact, I know from having listened to his podcast
Okay.
that he's a Sooners fan.
Oh, the Sooners. They're great.
That's the
the
University of
Sooners.
Oklahoma.
Is there a reason why they're called the Sooners?
See, I don't know that, actually.
Anything?
We should
Okay.
look that up.
Well, maybe that'll be a follow-up.
Maybe Jarrod will let us know what a Sooner is.
Yeah, as I have no idea. They show up sooner for the game and are more prepared, maybe?
Some people are Sooners fans, some people are Cowboys fans. The Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Right.
So there's a lot of college football. Big deal down there.
Yeah.
I don't even think that is a stereotype. I think that's actually
I don't
real.
think. Yeah, no, I don't.
I think that's actually true.
It's not the same as cold and hockey and a boot. That's just true. That's not
we would match our Canadian curling champions against the Sooners any day.
In what field? Because if it's football, they will be killed immediately.
Can you imagine?
There will not be enough ambulances to take the people off the field with that. That's terrible. Because our curlers are thin and mousy and
tend to have a beer gut.
Yeah, exactly.
But not the kind like football players have. Like
no,
not muscle beer gut.
Yeah, exactly.
Real actual beer gut.
Oh.
From drinking a lot of Molson's, because that's another Canadian.
Well, maybe we can find out what the Sooners are in a later show, because we can't be bothered to look it up right now. That would just be boring. But that brings me to an interesting little segment of our show. It's a regular segment now. We can just admit it's a regular segment now.
I think we should call it occasionally regular or semi-regular.
No, it has to be every show. You've got to come up with something.
But we may not have something every
time.
No,
then make it up.
No, but maybe.
All right,
we'll see how that
we'll
goes.
make it a semi-regular thing on the show, and that is.
What is it you're talking about?
Oh, it's Howard with follow-ups.
Oh, I forgot the little theme song. Come on already.
No, I don't want to do it. We'll merge those together in post later.
All right, yeah. Howard with follow-ups. Okay.
So hit us. What do you got?
So, folks, just so you know, occasionally, once in a while, we go back to refer to old episodes where there were things that we wanted to just catch up on or fill in. Or
I think they understand that. I think that's inherent in the follow-ups.
All right. So this time I would like to refer to episode 4 of
Howard. That's a good one.
Of Howard and Kevin Open Your Mail.
That was my favorite episode.
In fact?
No.
Okay. And so if you haven't listened to it, you might want to check it out. But if you have, at one point we were talking about famous Kevins and famous Howards. We were talking about our names,
so
Howard and Kevin.
And
you had like 100 Kevins.
Yeah, I had tons.
And I couldn't think of any.
Right.
Any Howards.
Yes.
And so now, Kevin, wait till you hear this.
Oh, I'm getting my comeuppance now.
You think you have a list of Kevins. Wait till you hear this. How did I not think of Howard Stern?
Oh my God!
I mean, my God, he's the most famous man in America. How did I not?
In pretty much like what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
talking on air about stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
so how did I not come out of have Howard Stern come out of me when I'm trying to think of famous Howard?
That's pathetic.
So Howard Stern, there's one.
All right.
How about Howie Mandel?
Oh, that's tough because he's a Howie. He's not a Howard.
Yeah, but he's clearly Howard Mandel.
Yeah, but nobody calls him Howard. He's Howie. So that's I can see why we could forget that.
Okay.
Plus, he's ultimately kind of a forgettable person anyway.
And hey, you know what? Canadian.
Oh, he is Canadian. That's true.
That's right.
All right,
so
I take back that forgettable thing.
I'm sorry I didn't invite him to my dinner party last night. He could have sat in Neil Young's chair.
He won't touch anything though. He's weird. He's a germaphobe or something. He's never touching anything.
He fists everything.
Yeah.
Not in the way that I.
Not in that way. Okay. No, that's fine.
Picks it up with his fist.
Sure.
Howard Cosell, one of the great sports announcers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad Ali, all that stuff. Do you remember Howard Jones?
He 80s musician.
Yeah, 80s pop music guy.
Yeah.
Howard Jones.
What was his big song? Things Can Only Get Better. Is that right? Yeah, I think that was a big one. Yeah.
I thought it was like...
Things can only get better. Yeah. I should
If
sing
your
more
name is Howard, all Howards are cool. Something like that.
I don't think that was his song. I think that was Starship.
Howard K. Smith was a
I don't know that
journalist, like a big news anchor guy in like 60s and 70s.
Oh, okay.
So Howard K. Smith.
Something from your 20s.
Here, Mr. Politico, Howard Dean. How about Howard Dean?
Of course. The chairman of the Democratic National Committee.
There you go.
He ran for president, then screamed on stage at one point, and completely that was enough to derail his campaign.
That is, if that's not U.S. politics in a nutshell,
it's perfect.
That is gorgeous.
I know. Scream once, you're out.
That's right. You make one little and you're done.
Okay. Any more?
Howard Johnson's.
Oh my God!
Hotels and restaurants.
Of course.
There must have been an actual Howard Johnson.
I'm guessing at some point.
Oh, plus there was Howard Johnson, who was like a third baseman for the Mets.
I remember that guy.
Back in, like, a while back.
That's right.
And then this last one, I'm actually kind of hesitant to say it out loud because as a youth, I got this a lot.
Oh,
like people called me this is like an annoying nickname.
Right, which was
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck, which is a terrible film.
Oh, the movie. And it was like a comic book.
Was there a comic book before that? Yeah, I
was not a big fan of Howard the Duck.
There haven't been a lot of really bad Kevins that I've been embarrassed about.
Kevin the Schmuck. No.
Kevin the Schmuck? Yeah, no, that wasn't a movie. That's just something you say all the time behind my back. No, I think Kevin Arnold was probably the most famous TV Kevin, I think. And he was the star of the Wonder Years, that show. So I used to get that a lot, Kevin Arnold.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, it's pretty lame, I know. Well, it's not as lame as Howard the Duck. Though.
Yeah. There was one nerd kid in my class who called me Howard K. Smith. So
that's
he's
really
a big
weird.
Journalism nerd.
Yeah, that's a very specific reference.
All right, so that was the famous Howards.
Okay.
We were also having a whole long conversation about vegetarianism.
Oh, yes.
And meat eating, and there was a conversation between a guy whose girlfriend was a vegetarian and that sort of thing.
Right.
And in fact, Jarrod, who we talked about from Oklahoma,
good old Jarrod,
dropped us a note on Facebook, helping us understand something. He says, "Let the hick help you out." So he's calling himself a hick, which is funny.
Why is he calling himself a hick?
He says the term you were looking for is working cattle. So here was the problem: is that we were discussing a steer and a bull, and there was a confusing thing. We talked about prairie oysters, which is like bull's testicles.
Yeah.
So he points out for us that a bull is the animal, the male animal that's been allowed to keep its testicles because they want to use it to mate with cows.
Yeah.
And a steer is a male cow that has been castrated.
Oh.
So the steer, I guess, are the working cattle. So that's the ones they obviously can't father calves.
Right,
but
so they're just doing other stuff.
Yes.
I've often thought I could get a lot more done if I didn't have balls. if I didn't spend 23.5 hours per day thinking of girls, I'd probably get a lot more done.
You probably would.
Yeah.
Like what did they call those monks?
Eunuchs?
Yeah, eunuchs.
Yeah.
A eunuch.
Maybe I'll just do that.
So there you go. So a steer is a male that's been castrated.
Okay.
And they do that because it gives the young bull a calmer demeanor.
Oh, makes sense.
Allows them to
that happens with a lot of animals, I think. With dogs and cats, it's the same. They calm down.
And now, while we were on that same subject of vegetarianism, we mentioned honey.
Yes.
And you said something about, well, the bees don't mind. Why should the bees mind?
I did. Yes.
And
I got on my soapbox about bees.
One of our listeners, Amanda, again through Facebook, sort of followed up with us on that. She pointed us to a website called GoneRaw.com, which is, of course, Gone Raw. It's all about food and veganism and vegetarianism and stuff like that.
Right.
And there was a very interesting article about honey. And I guess, just not to get into it too deeply, but the point that Amanda wanted us to understand is that in the modern day world of food...
Oh, it's the old factory farming.
Farming and all that, that although taking the honey isn't necessarily damaging the bees, the bees are not generally well treated.
I bet they're mistreated, yes.
By the big, large factory farmers.
Yes.
Humans have been eating the honey for many, many thousands of years, but it's only in recent times that we've been essentially farming it.
Yes.
And her article points out that in some cases the bees are not treated well, and they're killed arbitrarily, and they just insects. Who cares?
And I believe if you care about the bees, there are lots of alternatives to honey that you can get.
Different sweeteners. Yeah. And I mean, it sort of, the article kind of pointed out that we drink milk, and although it doesn't hurt the cow that we're drinking the milk, it doesn't mean that the cow is being treated well necessarily.
No, not necessarily. No.
So although the cow isn't killed for us to get the milk, like meat, it still doesn't mean that the cow is being, So that's the kind of point that Amanda wanted to make about honey, and it's something worth thinking about, I suppose.
Perfectly reasonable.
Honey. Amanda Honey.
Oh, is that her name? Because that's pretty good.
That would be ironic. And the last very small little point is we had a letter from Port Perry, Ontario. And I said that I was pretty sure that Port Perry was on Lake Scugog. And you were like,
whatever.
And I just wanted to say, I was right.
Oh, you're right.
Lake Scugog in Ontario, Port Perry.
All right, I'm going to check that because I won't take your word for it.
I'm telling you, I checked it.
No, I'm going to check it myself. I'm not into
I drove up there and I walked around for a while.
Did you?
Yep. There's the lake.
You absolutely confirmed it by sight.
Yeah, I thought I'm not trusting these maps.
Yeah, screw you, Google Maps.
So I took a little dip in Lake Scugog.
That's good.
Which apparently is a man-made lake.
Oh, is that right?
It's a whole long story. But anyway, I learned a lot about Port.
That's for later follow-ups.
I learned a lot about Port Perry. So episode 4 is followed up.
Followed up. That's good.
So we can close Howard's follow-ups for this week.
That was the little jingle, the out jingle?
Yeah, the outro.
Okay, that's good. I liked it. I think we should also do another segment later. Maybe I'll come up with something called apologies, because I'm going to also, I'm going to need to do a lot of those, I have a feeling. Especially when I talked about how I'd like to be castrated.
Who would you be apologizing to? Your testicles?
Well, just people who aren't fans of castration, I think.
Dear my testicles, I'm so sorry for treating you so callously.
I still love you. I still need you. Don't leave me. All right. Well, I guess we're right about the end of this fine episode, I think.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for listening, folks, to another episode of Howard and Kevin Open Your Mail.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, check out our website, howardandkevin.com. Check us out on Facebook. Give us a like us on Facebook.
Yes, yeah.
And follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
you can also like us on Twitter too, but I'm not sure how you do that. But like and follow us everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. And don't forget, on HowardandKevin.com, you too can send us a letter, which we might just read and answer on
Howard and Kevin Open Your Mail.